Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to our subject of lying. A heavy subject, but an important one. Last time around, we saw the characteristics of the liar. We saw someone whose very heart is filled with lies. All he wants to do is hurt and destroy through his lies. Now, we're going to move on to the consequences. What happens to the liar? And finish with a little contrast to encourage us away from lying. Like I said, it's one of those subjects that's kind of debated or at least discussed among Christians. Can we lie? To what extent can we lie? When is it okay? And I hope this study helps us to see at least God's perspective in all this with just a few words, a bit of wisdom. So like I said, we are now looking at the consequences of the liar. And we're going to start very slowly, dip our toes. A man of crooked heart does not discover good, and one with a dishonest tongue falls into calamity. Here again, don't miss the describers. We saw it last time, right? How are they described? People with crooked hearts, people with dishonest tongues. They are described by lies. That's not good. And on one side, they can't discover. No matter how much effort they put in, they cannot find good. Good as in favor, as in blessing. They can't find it. Because their life is lies and crookedness. They cannot find God's favor. Instead, they fall into calamity or evil. Kind of a contrast between good and evil here. So on one side, they're looking everywhere and they can't find it. But on the other, they just fall into it. It just comes naturally. The consequences for the liar. We continue. This one is basically the same thing being said twice with just small little change. So repetition means importance. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who breathes out lies will not escape. Verse 9 will simply add, he will perish. Again, they're being described as those who are just false witnesses. That's their moniker. That's their tag. I am false witness number 1. And they breathe out lies. The same way I breathe in and out naturally. For them, it's all about the lies. It has just come naturally. And the consequences is they can't go unpunished. They cannot escape the punishment. Ultimately, they will perish. That's harsh. And that's not the only time we can read that kind of stuff. Yeah, because the next proverb tells us, the getting of treasures by a lying tongue is a fleeting vapor and a snare of death. So yes, they might seem to succeed a little bit. Right, there's a treasure involved, but it's very fleeting, like a vapor. It won't last, like morning mist. It'll disappear. Because ultimately what's waiting for them is their last breath, right? Again, this seems harsh, but no, it's not. Because these persons want to hurt and destroy people through their lies. They want to ruin lives by their wicked mouths. They're trying to take advantage, and instead it will all come down upon them. So that's why I want to stay away from these liars. And that's when we turn to the contrasts. See, in these contrasts, it's almost like the writer of Proverbs, this father, is telling us, look at both of them. Make the right choice here. Again, we start slowly. Better is a poor person who walks in his integrity than one who is crooked in speech and is a fool. Better than is used a lot through Proverbs. And it's usually presented as a kind of exaggerated contrast. I mean, the poor person back then was very rejected. You were probably poor because you didn't manage your money right, or even maybe God was cursing you. That's how you became poor. God didn't bless you, he cursed you. Yet, he's still better than because he walks in integrity, right? Honesty, transparency. Because of that, he's better than this crooked person. Somebody who's turn from truth, because that's the contrast here. Truth, therefore lies. Turn from the truth, and it's basically just a fool. One who denies God exists and therefore lies, lives as if it doesn't matter. Better is this poor person with integrity compared to that person who's basically just a fool with his lies. We continue. A faithful witness does not lie, but a false witness breathes out lies. And here's the two describers from before, smooshed together to tell us this is who they are. They have the name tag and they very much live lies. I'm Mr. False Witness and all I can do is lie. It comes naturally to them. They cannot control it, just like you can't hold your breath for too long. That's who they are. But then we compare it to the faithful witness, the true and honest witness who does not. There's almost a sense of cannot lie. He can't fathom the idea of what lie can I use here to make it, to get it out of it, or to make something work or fix my problem. They can't think like that because their heart's not made like that. They're the faithful witness. They're unable to. They can't seem to fathom or think up of a lie. I hope you've seen the contrast. Because he continues, and we can read, whoever speaks the truth gives honest evidence, but a false witness utters deceit. Yes, we're still in the courtroom setting with the false and true witness, but still, we could bring it to life too, day-to-day life, where the one who speaks truth is bringing forth justice, right? Honest evidence. While the false witness, he's just bringing deceit or just trying to create guilt. One is trying to bring forth the justice that is necessary to truth, while the other one's doing everything he can to bring forth guiltiness and a bad verdict. Again, this is where the heart lies. This is where they lean, if you will. We continue. A truthful witness saves lives, but one who breathes out lies is deceitful. So there's a sense where we're going back to the consequence or reward setting, and we're seeing that this is not a full-on contrast. Because here there's lives that are being saved, but there's no death. So it's not a full-on contrast. Still, it's interesting. Because the truthful witness, which again in a courtroom setting, might be the one who speaks up and says, no, he did not kill that person. I saw him that day. He was not with them. And you're saving a life. Well, on the other side, that person who just breathed out lies, all he can do, all he is deceitful, is manipulative. And again, even though it's not said outright, there's a sense of, and all he's going to do is bring harm and destruction. Because the only thing the other one will bring is rescue and life. We continue. A false witness will perish, but the word of a man who hears will endure. Now we're seeing the contrast between enduring, living it forever, and perishing. And yet, it's kind of weird because you're seeing the person themselves, the witness, is the one perishing, yet the words of the person, not the person, the words, is what endures. So that helps us to understand what he means by he who hears. Here's what? Here's the truth. Here's God's word. That's what he shares with others, and that's why it's going to last forever. Compared to the false witness, all he's going to speak is what comes from his heart. Wicked, broken, evil heart. That's going to die out. Lies, falsitudes, they die out. God's truth, that lasts forever. But it's not just about the words though. Yeah, because we can also read, truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for the moment. Now we're seeing through the person themselves, not just their lips, of course. Either will last forever or will perish. There's real serious consequences or reward for those who are in the light and in truth, or in the darkness and in lies? I hope we're taking it seriously. Because we can also read, lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delight. And what better note to end on than what God thinks? He sees as an abomination, the lying lips. Again, not just the lie itself. It's not God is against lying. It's the one who has a lying heart and lying desires, who wants to hurt people through lies, and therefore they speak lies, they breathe out lies, and they just want to harm and destroy people. That God sees with an abomination, compared to those who act faithfully. Because again, what you say comes from your heart and your thoughts, and therefore how you live as well. It's all connected. Just like the liar isn't just someone who says lies, he has a lying heart, a lying thought, and a lying disposition. So the one who acts faithfully, walks and thinks and therefore talks in truth, he's a delight to the Lord. So at this point, we're really seeing these two striking contrasts that help us to have a better understanding of where should we position ourselves as Christians, as believers, when it comes to lying. Well, you have a new heart. One that is like the Lord, who is truth itself. One who can find better ways than by lies to get out of situations, of rescuing people, or whatever else. Compared to the deceitful person that all he can think of, and therefore all he can breathe out, are lies. And it always poisons him, it gets him worse and worse, and the consequences get serious. One endures, the other is perishing. Let's take these words seriously, brothers and sisters. Be blessed.